Hey everybody, if you're watching us live, good morning East Coast people, really good morning to West Coast people. We had Nick from Foolish IT asked us, how come the morning shows work out better for him? So I think
So y'all can take off work on Mondays and do this
right,
show.
right. So if you guys could maybe take the mornings off, I'll get up really early. Mitch has got to be to work at 7:30, so we figured we'll do a 5 a.m. your time show. That would be 2 a.m. my time. We may lose some listeners, or at least some live people. But let me
I leave 20 minutes till 6.
let
I'm
me
there. I'm there early all the time.
let me drink out of my coffee cup here. There we
Oh yeah, very nice. Are you selling them?
Awesome. They're Cafe Press. Just threw the logo on there, and
Mm-hmm.
they're not nothing special, but it makes me feel important. It's like having a coffee cup that says "I'm the boss of myself."
Of myself.
I'm only trying to press myself.
You come in periodically and tell yourself to get back to work.
I know. Darn it, Martin.
Oh, gosh, that's so funny.
Oh, I guess I gotta get Audacity up.
I don't know where to eat today. We're going to go out somewhere, but I don't know where.
Something with ribs.
Um, I stayed home the whole day yesterday.
We were out and about. We've eaten out a couple times this weekend, so it's just.
Well, my wife wanted to go see her mother and father, so to go to the cemetery. And her father was a war vet. He did fight in the war, World War II, and but I wasn't feeling too good, so I stayed home, stayed with the dog.
Yeah.
So, and watched about 10 episodes of The Wire, back to back.
Yeah. I think, yeah, I don't think depending on the weather, it's blue skies, it's supposed to be raining. We may go, I don't know, maybe we'll go for a hike or a walk or go to the movies or, I don't know, we'll go do something.
X-Men.
I'm not a superhero movie fan.
I am, but I'm starting to get a little old.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. Who knows? Maybe we did a 6 mile hike on Saturday, and that was pretty good.
Well, maybe we'll do a 6-foot hike. That's about all we can do.
6 foot.
I was limping all week. I got a bad knee.
Gosh. Well, I'm ready when you guys are.
I'm ready. Got my Audacity is up.
Tim, I do have to say it's good to see you, man.
Sure is.
It's good to see you guys too, man. I tell you, I listened to that last show. First time I've really just listened to a show. It's just you guys, but I was like, wow, this is a pretty good show. These guys are great. And the audio I actually had listened to it on the headphones. I'm like, oh, this audio is fantastic. So, but it's good to be here. I'm glad we could do this, and I appreciate you guys doing this, making time, and this worked out good for me. I mean,
Yeah. It's like, you're doing what? I'm like, oh, that's okay.
There we go, much better. So
if we don't go too long, I can crawl back into bed for a little bit.
Yeah, that's a plan.
That's
a plan. Let's see. Get my crap. And that's as good as it gets. Okay, so I'm ready when you are.
Yeah, that looks good.
All right. If you count down, I'm ready.
All right, ready?
Mm-hmm.
3, 2, 1, record.
Test.
Test.
Yes, we are on live.
All right, cool.
Check.
Let me minimize this bad boy.
Check.
Hey, everybody, welcome to Geek. Oh, let me start over. Wow. me. Hey, everybody, welcome to Geeksters, episode 118. We're back. We have Tim with us today. Yay! We had to redo our schedule around just to get things working here, but we're back and we don't want to miss out with Tim. So, hey, Tim, how's it going?
I'm doing great. As we're recording this, this is Memorial Day, or as my kin called it growing up, decorating day, where
That's
go
what it
out
used to be called. Yeah.
we'd go out to the cemetery and leave flares, and it made quite an impression on me growing up. And so to me, it'll always be decorating day, although Memorial Day, I suppose, kind of gets at the same thing. So. Today it's hamburgers and hot dogs, but I made a big deal about getting the sun out there, put the flag up, make sure there's a light on it at night, and he patrols that, and so he's a good Cub Scout. Watch that for us. But yeah, so tonight it's a day off, but it's a good reason why we have so much freedom to get up, and I know that I have a lot of freedom to get up and go down my basement and do this thing. So forever grateful. And but yeah, Memorial Day.
Yeah. No, I hear you. It's I was not I did not serve. I have a lot of friends who have. I know my father did, and my grandfather and stuff like that. And so yeah, there's always a special place for both Veterans Day and Memorial Day in my heart. And so if you guys just love the ones you have with you and stuff like that. So Mitch, how's it going with you?
Well, happy Memorial Day. My son served, and my father was in the service in World War II, although he didn't actually go overseas. And my brother, and happy Memorial Day. And like Tim said, I mean, people lost their lives for what we have today. So happy Memorial Day to all those people that lost their lives and the people that are serving us right now.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep, thank you. Well, I want to make sure that people know that what Geeksters is about. It's a show we just come on and we just talk about geek stuff, and it could be anything from anything technology related. Really, we've kind of covered a gamut sometimes of wireless cameras, wired Wi-Fi. Probably I suppose if a toaster has a computer chip in it, at some point we'll talk about it.
Cell phones.
Cell phones, yeah, you name it, we talk about it. Now we do stick a lot to computer related stuff, wireless, home, networking, stuff like that. But we'll throw anything in there. So if anybody has any questions regarding any of that stuff, definitely send us an email, shoot that out to us, and we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. But since Tim hasn't been on a while, and actually it hasn't really been that long. It feels like it because we did miss a show a week because of just scheduling and illness and life, just life. And then before that, Mitch and I did a show, and so it feels like Tim's been gone for a long time, but really he hasn't. I think it's just because we just.
Wasn't it?
Go ahead, Mitch. I'm sorry.
I think it was the only 2 shows he missed. That was it.
Was it 2? I thought it was just 1.
I only missed one show, but
I was the one. Yeah, that's right. We didn't do a show. Period.
The show wasn't done at all. So
yeah, right.
Anyway, it's been fantastic.
It's
for the listeners mostly, but it's springtime, and my kids are involved in a lot of sports, and this has been an unusually busy spring. So getting a chance to kind of break away a little bit, kind of focus on that's been great. So, but that's all. So but having a day off and everybody working around that, we were able to make some time here. And so, yeah, it does seem like it's been a while, but
it really hasn't.
I guess not really. So.
But in the computer world, 1 week.
Yeah. I mean, in the computer world,
is it like dog years or something like that?
In computer years.
Yeah, I've missed many updates.
That's right. Many fiscal weeks.
Yeah, I think 2 terabytes equals a year. No, I don't know.
Yeah, I forgot. I don't know what the conversion is.
I don't know. We'll have to figure that out. If anybody knows that, please let us know. So what's been happening with you guys? Anything new, exciting, fun, dangerous?
Yeah, I'll go first. Um, this ongoing upgrade that I did from a Windows XP machine to a Windows 7, had to buy more RAM for the computer. It's got 4 gigs, 320 gig hard drive, Windows 7. But he had all these Windows XP programs that would not work at all in Windows 7. So I said, if you're really attached to these programs, we can put VirtualBox on and install your copy of XP, which we did, and I showed him how to use everything. It was working well, and he was quite satisfied. But he had one of these old uh, printing softwares, where you do the cards, and I forgot the name of it, but it just would not work in Windows 7 at all. But we got it in VirtualBox, started working fine. He had an old copy of Windows Office 2003 and he bought 2010, but it just didn't format what he already had, and so we put that on in XP, excuse me, in XP, and he was really satisfied. Really
Nice.
satisfied.
And those products, I mean, just curious, but those products wouldn't work in XP mode?
Yeah,
No.
we tried the compatibility mode, and they haven't been updated. I mean, when it says Windows 95 or 98 or higher, it's probably not going to work on anything. You're getting a message it wouldn't work in a 64-bit operating system. Now, maybe if we had 32-bit, possibly. But and another thing I want to bring up, because you guys have been hearing me talk about it for a long time. My Verizon contract is up Wednesday.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm eligible for an upgrade.
Hear that, everybody? He's eligible.
Yes, and I was thinking about just switching to Virgin Mobile because I just use my phone so little. But I'm hearing some horror stories about Virgin, their service. They're a subsidiary. Help me out. Subsidiary of Sprint, where they use the Sprint towers. And so I'm hearing some horror stories, but they just came out with a new phone. Well, you can get the S5, but I'm not paying $600 for a phone. But they have one that just came out, an LG Volt. It's got some pretty decent specs, like a quad-core, 1.2 gigahertz. And there's some decent reviews I'm seeing online. So I have a question out there. I don't know if anybody's going to get back to me and let me know if anybody uses some of these prepaid services. Especially Virgin Mobile. I mean, is it worth? I mean, I know depending on what area you're at, it's going to play a big part. But I'm supposed to have pretty good coverage where I'm at, which is Hanover, Pennsylvania. But if anybody uses Virgin Mobile, send us an email or a voicemail, better yet. Let me know if how your service is, and it can be any prepaid type of
Now you said that
service.
You said that this Verizon Mobile, they're a subsidiary of Sprint.
Yeah.
And the only reason that caught my attention is because we just lately, with traveling and work and kids, we started hitting our data cap. I had bumped it up from 10 gigs to 15 gigs. And then what happens on the AT&T network is that once you hit that cap, it's $15 more for one more gig.
Right.
And so what I ended up doing was, remember my hotspot, my little clear hotspot that I talked about it. Oh gosh, a long time ago. It was $50 unlimited on the Clear network. Well, the Clear network was then bought by Sprint, and so now I reactivated this hotspot. It's $55 now a month, but it's unlimited, and I get up to 10 computers I can hook up to it. It has its own little DHCP. But it's also on the Sprint network. So while I was thinking, well, I need to do this because if I'm out in the field a lot, I'm using my phone, and this way I'll just go ahead and tether it and go that route, and kind of hopefully decrease our family's bandwidth, because I am the primary user of all that bandwidth between mapping programs, just downloading applications, researching stuff on my phone out in the field, which is what I need to do. but they moved to Sprint, so I was kind of hoping that I'll have a better experience with them. And I will be taking a trip down into California coming up in the next couple of weeks to deploy a new server. And the biggest thing is that that it didn't work in the big area. So I would hit out my area. I'd head into Portland. It would work fine there. Into southern. Start in the, if you look at the map of Oregon, really you have Portland up at the top. You've got Salem and Eugene in the middle, and then it's pretty much just a couple 1,500 15,000 people towns along the way, so you not a huge area. It's not hugely densely populated, so you end up with these dead spots, which there's nothing I can do about that. I understand that. But what was happening is I would go to these places where they would have decent cellular service, but this hotspot wouldn't work because Clear was not available. So I'm hoping that by them being sold to Sprint, essentially I'm going to be I'm going to benefit from that. But I don't know anything about the Sprint network.
Right. You will.
Yeah, I guess I'll find out. So you were talking about prepaid stuff, and Nick says in the chat room, Nick from Foolish IT says, Mitch, check into Page Plus Cellular. They use the Verizon network, so it's pretty decent coverage, at least for me. And you can really use any Verizon phone with that service except for prepaid phones.
Right.
So Page Plus Cellular.
I'll check them out, but
and that doesn't sound familiar for over here in the West Coast.
I might have checked into it. You can't get Cricket. You can't get Cricket out here, I don't think. And so we have Boost, which is Sprint too. It's also a subsidiary of Sprint. But for the one I was interested in was Virgin Mobile's $35 a month with unlimited data, although they do cap you after 2.5 gigs of data use, and 300 minutes of phone service and unlimited text. On my Verizon plan that I have now that I'm grandfathered in, I get 450 minutes of phone service, unlimited data, which is good, but I average 1.4, which is not much, and I got to pay for text, which I get around that by using apps. Mm-hmm. And my phone, the minutes on my phone I use, its averages is between like 40 and 60 minutes a month. So that Virgin Mobile.
For how much?
I'm paying like $66 and some change a month, because I get 18% off of my employer. So it's another reason why I'll probably stick with them. Maybe.
Okay. I
get that 18% off. Though if I do upgrade my phone, since I'm grandfathered in, they have no more unlimited data. But what they will do for you, since I was grandfathered in, they will give me pretty much basically the same plan I have now, but I'll get 6 gigabytes of data. Everything else will stay the same, except I get a discount from where I work, 18%. But it won't be on the data if I upgrade to another phone. But that's only going to be it would be like maybe $3 more than I'm paying now. And they have the LG G2 is a nice phone. They have that for free on Verizon right now, but they always get you with that $30 activation fee. But
they always get you. There's always a get you.
Don't they? I mean, every time you get a new phone, I've never had where they drop the. Of course, this would only be my third one, but the S5 and the HTC One M8, those 3 phones I'm really, really interested in. So we'll see. And I got something from. I think Tim, you're a Comcast customer. I got something in the mail from them a couple of weeks ago. Their Comcast, believe it or not, is partnered with Verizon Cellular. If I buy a phone through Verizon phone through Comcast, a certain amount of dates. Between these dates, I get a $200 prepaid Visa card. So that's another thing I might be worth doing too. So.
I just hate this. It's like buying insurance.
What's that?
It's like buying insurance. You gotta shop around, or it's like trying to buy something from Dell. I mean, you go there and you can navigate. Their website is like a choose your adventure book. Right. I mean, you can go through Dell like any one of 17 different ways and end up with the same thing at each end, and they all cost like different price. It's all different prices. Yeah. It's the same thing. It's like buying airline tickets or something. And that's what I just.
And then again, if I do get a phone with Verizon upgrade, it would be another 2 year contract. Whereas
Right.
Virgin Mobile, I can change phones. I don't. You're not locked in.
Well, I do know that a lot of cellular providers now are kind of getting away from that 2-year contract because of what they want you to do is buy into that anytime. Well, the AT&T calls it the anytime upgrade.
Right.
So I don't have a 2-year contract when I got my Galaxy S4
Right.
because what they want me to do is, well, now I'm coming up almost on a year. What they really want me to do is now, oh wait, the S5's out, so now
Buy
I
a
should
new
just go
phone.
buy the S5.
Hmm.
And never be, well, I can be free to do that because I'm not locked into any contract. But guess what? There's always a gotcha. So,
You still got to pay the phone off.
well, no, I
Yeah.
don't have to pay the phone off. I just have to, they
If
just.
you if you well, all right. Verizon has an Edge program. I think
Mm,
if you pay in like 6 months on it, you can get another phone. But they're saying it's not a contract. What if you want to discontinue Verizon? All
but
I
yeah,
guarantee you're going to pay the rest of that phone.
yeah, you can't break you can't go away, but you can upgrade really cheap.
Right.
But it's not a contract. So yeah, it's can't,
Anything with that much fine print at the end has to be.
that's right. That's right.
It's not a contract. It's just an agreement that between us that you can't do these things. Well, that's a contract.
I think I signed more lines on more pages when I got a cell phone than I did when I bought my house.
Right. 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 I mean, you have kids, and it's like, well, leaving the hospital. Here's your kid, but I mean, you can't get out of the cell phones. The variety out in stores. Gosh, can I just take the phone home? You can call me. We can just do it that way.
That's
Because
right.
this might take a while. I need to get comfortable.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Why are you wearing your pajamas? Because I know. Because I know.
Well, I'm horrified by how complicated this process is, and that now Comcast needs to be involved somehow. I mean, that makes you just want to just get rid of everything and crawl in my basement, lock the door, and never come out.
Just a tin can and a string.
No, not even that. I'm cutting the string.
Tim, are you in there? Go away.
Um, well, I tell you what, I'm also up as of, oh man, yeah, over a month ago. And you know what? I'm just gonna tread water. I hate all this crap, and I used to enjoy doing this sort of thing, shopping around, getting the really turn the screws, getting the best deal, really feeling like I got over. But you know what? I don't have the patience at the time or something. I, everything is kind of just going. I tell you what, the other day I actually looked at what we pay, and it's like, I wish I hadn't looked at that. It's just awful between the two devices. And you know what? I got the exact same thing you got, Martin, where uh, I got a text, and which that's something I like that I got notified, hey, you're at your data limit. And I'm like, So I'm looking at our history here, and it's like we use this much data, and I actually pay for a little bit more. It's always been adequate. Same thing. It was like I had a week left, and we had just bumped into like our data limit. I'm like, what's that all about? And I thought about it, and you know what? It was. There were a couple weeks where I know that I had used some more, but that I had tethered the kids' tablets to it, and we had done a little bit extra driving. You know what? I think their tablets. I think that they sit here connected to the Wi-Fi all day. As soon as we get in the car, those tablets are like, ooh, I'm gonna start downloading stuff like in the background. I don't know what it's updating. I know that my daughter is like, sure, I'll download that 16 gig or 16 gig movie, and then like watch 3 minutes. Oh, I don't want this. And I think she just like is going nuts, and so I don't know. That's actually my deal is that we have plenty of data, but I need to find some way to corral it that either these downloads and whatnot they need to happen here at the house before we leave. I believe there's some settings, I can make in the device to kind of prevent that from happening, or encourage it to happen here before we leave, and I'm on my cell data. But then I think there also is some behavioral changes that I need to address. So, but yeah, I had the exact same thing where It was like $15 for whatever gig. I think a gig over that, and I think that I got hurt pretty bad this last month. But I thought, well, I could spend the $10 or what. Or it was going to no, actually, I was going to have to go up 2 gigs, whatever, to cover it. But you're stuck with that, and so I mean, I don't want to commit to that because this was kind of this was an event. This isn't what I would expect over time. So I didn't want to pay to bump it up. I'll take the hit because 2-3 months out I'll be paying a lot extra for data that I know we won't be using. So
Yeah.
the numbers were exactly the same though that you had said, and that was with Verizon. So it's like it's like the gas companies. They're all just one big company.
Yep. As soon as one goes up, they all go up.
They're just one big company. One big company. You might think that we have to. It's all one tower. It all goes through a cable somewhere in Des Moines.
One DSL line.
That's it. DSL.
Well, so I had to go back a week or so, and I had a client call me, saying, "Hey, my computer just has this starting up every time," and I thought I'd just give you a call because it's been about a week and a half, 2 weeks, and what would start up is the computer would go through its BIOS and then stop, and at the bottom it says hard drive imminent failure, press F1 to continue.
Yeah.
And she says, so I just keep hitting F1.
Obviously, it's not that imminent.
Right. And so really why they called was because it was a Vista machine and it was kind of stuck in a reboot loop. And an update. It would say installing update 3 of 3 and and it would take about 4 or 5 minutes and then it would just reboot. It would just shut down and reboot. And then do the same thing over and over again. So I said, well, first off, we need to get you a new hard drive because this is a problem. And we need to fix this problem because she says it just doesn't work now. So I went out there, grabbed it, brought it home, turned it on. Sure enough, I could replicate the issue. I went ahead and because of it had hard drive imminent failure and it wasn't booting, I thought, well, I first cloned it right off the bat. The first thing I did was just quickly clone the hard drive. Ran spin right on it, and the second sector was bad, unrecoverable. That did not fix the issue, though. So I was like, well, okay. So I grabbed the clone image.
Real quick,
sure.
How did cloning go with a bad sector?
It cloned fine because I use Clonezilla, so it just says sector by sector, just whatever's there, just do it. I had a feeling it was going to take a bit longer because you can clone with Clonezilla. It has it kind of has during the setup process you can tell it what level to start cloning at, and it'll start, and then the very bottom one, which would be if I can't do steps 1, 2, and 3, do 4, and the very last one is a bit by bit sector, which is what I'm gonna digress here for a moment, but which is what Clonezilla will do if you can. So you can clone a true crypted hard drive, because Clonezilla will try to clone that, realize that it's not a Windows or a Linux partition or something like that, and it just drops all the way back to bit by bit. And it does take a long time to do it, but it will clone a true crypted hard drive.
An exact copy.
Yeah, an exact copy, bit by bit. Like I said, it takes a long time.
The data, it doesn't even care.
It doesn't even care.
Copying ones and zeros.
Right. And so it was able to clone. No problem. It did take a little bit longer. It took about 4 hours to clone, which is a 500 gig hard drive. So that's a bit long, but not crazy. I just kind of turned around, left it, and walked away. Put the new hard drive in. It booted up, no issues with. Let me reverse back to that. It did not give me the your hard drive is going to die error, because remember that error that you see when that happens. That's from the smart technology, the systems monitoring and resource tools, some of that. So that's actually on the hard drive chip. That's actually on the That's actually on the hard drive, on the board on the hard drive. That's where that information is coming through, and it passes that through to the computer. So that's not something your Windows is seeing yet, because it hasn't booted into Windows yet. So that was gone because I had replaced the hard drive. But then it booted right into update 3 of 3, and then and then a looping and looping and looping. And I went and I did some research on Vista, and Vista has had this issue for many years on many different applications, where it will do if you just Google Vista update 3 of 3 reboot, you're going to see forums all the way back to 2007 regarding this issue. So went ahead and started working with that and trying to figure out what it was, and you know, I tried to get a Vista CD that I could do like a system recovery with, or at least a system, have it do itself. I couldn't find one. Every Vista CD that I burned, it was just it didn't match, or it mismatched, this or that wrong, or the wrong, oh right, operating system wrong, this, or So I was like, forget it. So I ended up actually using kind of one of the, like a 98 boot CD, somewhere I could actually get into and see the operating system. So I actually think I did a Linux CD. I was able to actually get in and then look at the actual files on the hard drive itself. In Vista, and I believe in 7 as well, there's a file called pending.xml, and I believe so I believe, correct me if I'm wrong here, that's just an XML file that exists when there is updates pending. So it's kind of just a
text file.
It's a text file. It's a pointer file. Am I incorrect in that?
No, I mean XML. I guess it can have any kind of information that's put into it. Yeah,
but it sounds like from some other reading is that it doesn't exist if you don't have any updates. Like if you're not pending any updates, this file doesn't exist.
Gotcha.
And so what I was able to do was go in there and actually I just renamed it. And it's found in the Windows directory under WinSFSXS. So Windows/WinSXS, and then there's a pending.xml file. I just renamed it to .xml.old. Rebooted the machine. Booted right in. Now it took a little bit longer. Like I could see that it was trying to chug and trying to do some stuff, but it took a little bit longer. And then from there, I was able to do again restart the Windows updates, because I think a combination of the bad sectors, the hard drive failing, because the hard drive was failing, which was one thing, and that's usually I don't know if that's necessarily sectors as much as it started to make a clicking noise. So I was having bad sectors on the hard drive. I was having, and now granted this was a fairly old hard drive, I was actually probably having physical issues with the hard drive, and now it wouldn't boot. So I had to kind of, I felt like I was kind of working kind of against the clock here before something actually failed, and I couldn't get any data back, because this was going to be a system that was going to be kind of a chore to reload. It's fairly messy. There's just no organization. We're going to need to fix that. But if it broke, I felt like I was going to really be. It's going to take a lot of time to kind of get things correct and put things back where they were, unorganized, so I can make sure that the company could be up and running. We did. So I did do that. We removed the pending XML. It reloaded. Did Windows updates. Got it all up and running, and was able to deliver it back to the user that next day. I picked it up on a Friday.
Was getting the updates one of the problems before you did what you did?
That's what started it. That's what caused it all, or at least this update.
Yeah,
but after
Vista,
I updated it,
even on a good hard drive, Vista, in my experiences, they're always notorious for broken updates.
Right.
Yeah, Vista's awful. But there's a good. There you go. Mention them again. Brightech has a real good tutorial on fixing Windows updates. It's never not worked for me, so it's always worked for me.
Yeah. Well, I could, and I would, this is a really older machine. It's time for an upgrade, but I can't. They're not interested in upgrading yet. Maybe end of the year we talked about it, because it's Vista. Vista's still valid. Vista's still getting updates, so I can't really,
It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to use.
And and so I did talk with them, and because they, one of the things they said was, this is really going to be bad if it breaks down, because it's their only computer. Now we have them on CrashPlan, so we have them doing external offsite cloud storage, so the data's safe, but rebuilding the home would be kind of a pain. But we were able to get it up and running.
Yeah, well, with the way that Vista hard drives just sit there and grind 24 hours a day, as it's doing its amazing indexing or whatever it's doing, I'm surprised they would have ever heard any hard drive clicking or anything. You know what? I have had I've done that repair many, many, many times, and I think that's I don't know. It's necessarily a Vista thing so much as just the imminent hard drive failure that you know an update was applied, it rebooted, it did not successfully reboot, and then it comes back up, and it's like, hey, I was doing something, and then now you're stuck in that boot loop. And I think I think even googling just like Windows updates boot loop, I think will will get you to that file. But yeah, I've repaired machines many ways, many times that way, and once you kind of hit upon it, that's a very easy fix, and it's almost like magic. It's like, wow, I can't believe that was that easy. It does take, like you said, a little bit longer to come up as it's trying to figure out what happened to it. But yeah, you'll log in, it'll be happy, it'll start, and the updates it'll go through and kind of figure out where it's at and what updates are still required. But the I wanted to ask you about the Clonezilla. Now, is that I'm thinking we're using the same version of that. I mean, it's all. I mean, there's no real there's no graphical GUI to it, right? It's all.
Okay, well, it's not text based, but there is a GUI, but it's very basic.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of tab, spacebar to select things. There's no there is a mouse actually, but it's not. It's much easier to do it just with keyboard commands, and you can script it out, which is one of the nice things about it. You can I have it on a server here, and it just boots right to it, and I could script it out and put in the IP address of the host server, the server I want to save the images at, credentials, and so you could actually put that all in this huge long string and of if you wanted to, but there's just so many options and for Clonezilla that I don't know how to
Right.
a lot to do with it, and so that's one of the things about Clonezilla is that it almost seems like it's overwhelming because you get so many choices. It's not just a whole bunch of next buttons, but on the other hand, it's pretty powerful. Now, the downside of Clonezilla is that if you take a 250 gig, well, okay, say you clone a 500 gig hard drive, okay, but you're only using 80 gigs of that 500 gig hard drive, you can't then take that and put it on a 250 gig hard drive because it sees 500 gigs and it says I can't fit on 250 gigs, even though they're only using 80. You can do so that's a full disk. You can do a partition, a clone. But the problems you run into that is, especially if you like Windows 7, if you look at your partitions, Windows 7 makes its own little partition, and then you have the bigger one. So it's not always easy to use in that aspect. There is a way you can force it to go to a smaller one. I haven't had any luck with that. So it's
and that sort of thing is it's neither here nor there if you have a failing hard drive.
right.
That's the I'm a huge fan of Clonezilla, and it's not the sort of thing that I would ordinarily really like. I think it's like it's pretty crude to look at. It's all text. I think it's like I'm trying to remember. Aren't the colors like it's like a red background or something with a blue text or something hideous? I can't remember, but.
Well, it's based off they have got the regular version. They have like this other alternate version, which I found that works well, but it's based off Ubuntu, so it's purple and white, which is kind of the Ubuntu colors.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I don't even know the version I'm using was probably recovered in an archaeological dig somewhere. But you know what? It does what I want to do, which ordinarily is. I can't image it because whenever I'm using Windows, it hits a speed bump, and it's like, whoa, there's a problem here. I can't do this anymore. And it's like, well, I wish you told me that 20 minutes ago before at least you started doing this. That's always been the huge thing about the Clonezilla is that I can say, I want you to start, I want you to finish. If you encounter a problem, just go on. And that's huge, and I really like the sector as it's copying sector to sector, because as it's it starts at the beginning, it goes to the end, and the way it was explained to me, and I, in my mind, this makes a lot of sense, is that if you have a hard drive that is compromised, or it's failing, that when you don't have that armature in there swinging around randomly as it's reading data, it just it just slowly sweeps like a record player. That's that's a good thing when you have a hard drive that has potentially imminent failure. So I love Clonezilla. It's always done a great job for me. It's free, and it does do a good job though if you're going the other way. If you are going from like a 250 gig hard drive to a 500. The first time you boot that up, it'll just appear to be a 250 gig hard drive, and you can just go in and resize that that partition to just use the full drive if you want.
Yeah.
So.
See, I've always used Acronis. I never tried Clonezilla. I wanted to, but Acronis, I don't think it's never not worked for me. And I even went to a slightly smaller drive before, and I didn't have any problems. And I guess the hard drives weren't too bad. I mean, and everything worked fine. Never had any complaints. Not that I've done a ton of them like you guys do, but now I did try a freeware one because I did have trouble cloning a SSD to a regular hard drive.
Oh, okay.
The Acronis, it said it worked, but then it wouldn't boot up. But then I found another program, a freeware, that did work, because SSDs are a little different. The whole structure is different and all. But I can't remember the name of the freeware one I used, which worked. But yeah, I've always been a Acronis fan, but I always wanted to try Clonezilla, but never did.
Well, and you know what I believe firmly in this, I've said it many times, is that I think a lot of these products, we don't have to get into I'd rather push my Acronis than drive your Clonezilla.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's so many options for all these different things, and what you find, whatever you're using, it's probably the first thing that you found that's worked for you consistently, and it's like, well, why would I try anything else? This has just always worked for me, and so that's why we get together here and share all this, so that we do know what options are available out there.
I mean, I still use Netscape. It's the first browser I ever used, and I still use it.
Yeah, I'm.
I mean, you could, I suppose.
Along with my Windows 95 operating system. So.
And you've got mail.
Yep.
I still search with Lycos. I mean,
GeoCities.
You know what? That's so sad. I actually clicked the GeoCities link the other day, and it took me to a nothing. It's just so sad.
I like you used to have.
That was awful. That was really awful.
Freeware websites.
That was awful when they killed it, and they destroyed it. They destroyed all of it. It all went away. Remember?
Yeah.
I think you had the option to back that stuff up, but they just killed it. I mean, all of that GeoCities data they had on the servers probably would fit on 5 hard drives, that I could just round up in my basement here somewhere. But no, we don't do that. So
yeah, I'm not. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say that it would probably fit on 3 micro SD cards out of our phones.
Okay.
But no, we're not going. It's gone. It's gone. GeoCities.
I had a client call me a couple weeks ago as well regarding they were using. I can't even remember what the application was. I don't remember if I talked about it here, if I talked about it on one of our Boxer chats regarding they were using a card making application. And Mitch, this may be kind of what you were running into as well. They were using some kind of a card making application. Oh no, I know what they wanted to do.
Like greeting cards?
Yeah, what they wanted to do was instead of sending physical cards, they wanted to send out digital cards to their clients.
Right.
And they said, hey, we'd like to use Smilebox. What do you know about it? And I said, well, everything that I know about Smilebox is that it installs a whole bunch of junk on your computer and a whole bunch of like browser redirects, and it's just nasty. I said I would not recommend it. I said I can't recommend the site because I'm their IT guy, and so what would happen is if they installed something like this, then basically I'm just yeah, go ahead and install the browser redirects and stuff like that, because I just know that I'm trying to save them time. I'm trying to save me heartache and pain, and and they said, okay, what would you recommend? And I gave them AmericanGreetingCards.com or a multiple of the other free online card making e-card type stuff.
Right.
Smilebox.
And have you guys ever used Smilebox before?
I never even heard of it.
Oh,
It just sounds awful.
yeah.
Yeah,
So it's. Go ahead, Mitch. Have you used it or heard of it?
No, but just from the title, you can tell that it's not coming on my computer. I'll tell you that right now.
So smilebox.com, and it says,
Oh gosh.
it's animated and printable designs. You can email, you can post, you can print at home. They have a free service, they have a premium service, and basically it's an online greeting card maker. And so I said, well, here's the issue you may run into. So I hadn't heard about it. They said thanks, not a problem. Weeks later, now. I had gone out to work on another issue, and the vice president of the company, who's my primary point of contact for a lot of their admin stuff, says, "Hey, can you look at my computer? It's doing some funny stuff." Sure, let me take a look. Browser redirects, toolbar installed. Oh, and Smilebox.
Oh, which is more like Frownbox now.
Right. So let me remove that stuff for you. Remove that, and she goes, yeah, ever since I installed Smilebox after you told me not to, it hasn't been working very well, and I keep getting pop-ups, and not just pop-ups, it's those embedded video. You know what I mean? So like you go to Google, and in the middle of the pages there's an embedded video for Mucinex or whatever, and you can't really figure out where the sound's coming from. So cleaned it up. It was actually on 2 computers, and they're like, yeah, I don't think we're going to use Smilebox. Okay, good.
Wow.
So if you guys are using Smilebox, I don't know about the paid version, but the free version, you might as well install. What's the big one out there? The
Conduit, the search conduit.
Yeah, might as well just install that and get it over with. So Smilebox, Frownbox.
Yeah. Search Conduit actually limits your ability to search for things because it just takes you to wherever it wants you to go. It's kind of it's ironic, but it's a search conduit. It's awful. It's the worst.
Yeah, we had it on a computer at work a couple weeks ago. I had and my boss just thinks just use Malwarebytes, get rid of it. It's done. I said I need to go over it afterwards, and but he never lets me. He said it's fine. I run it for him, clean it up, and he said that I never hear from him. Then I'll email him. How's it running? Fine. That's all I hear. So I don't know, but I like to go over it with a fine-tooth comb, even after using Malwarebytes.
Oh yeah.
Because I think I've had to go in a registry and move some of that stuff before from Conduit.
Oh, it's ADW now. It's the bomb.
Yeah, you're right.
I know that's the tool of the hour. It's amazing. I've used it. I used it again last week, and I just love it to death. Love it.
I love it. So
I love it. ADW. Love it.
What's
fantastic?
There's an old Saturday Night Live skit where somebody does that. I don't know. But we're talking about uninstalling stuff, and I wanted to bring this up. And our sponsor, Nick Shaw, who does D2 or D7 and a whole bunch of other stuff, D-Uninstaller has been upgraded. The new version of D-Uninstaller is out. It's version 3.1. Now, the new updates, I confirmed this with him. The new updates are for people who have registered the product. So it's kind of the paid version. But I just wanted to bring this up again. So if you have a registered version, you have a registered copy, you can upgrade to 3.1. And it does things, and it says he added a new feature to delete files, directories, and registry keys after automatic uninstalls are performed. And so the automatic uninstalls are done off the free version or off the paid version. Apologize. But have you guys used de-uninstaller before?
I have not.
I have, and it's actually really, really slick. So you just run it. Yeah, it's a small little application. It's a small executable. It's less than a meg, I believe. It's right about a meg. You just run it on your thumb drive, something like that. So if you have a computer that has a whole bunch of stuff you need to uninstall, run it, and you can just go through and you can just click a whole bunch of different things and just say go, and it just goes through and it actually it just uninstalls everything right in a row. Just automatically. So it's actually it's really, really cool. It's on my thumb drive, and I use it because there's a lot of times we have to wait for stuff to uninstall, and this will this will do that stuff. Nick also mentioned that he also added whitelisting. So great thing to do. You can have it on your you can have it on your stuff. You have your logo, not Nick's logo. Not that Nick doesn't have a cool logo, but whitelisting and make it a little more personal for your business.
Branding.
Yeah, definitely branding. The more times you get your name out there, the you be who you are.
That's right.
And
You don't
so
sell the laptop, you sell the sizzle.
that's right, the sizzle, the sizzle. The other thing that
Well, wait. Well, I mean, this is kind of like when I use Night Night, it installs things. Like I just set it and go and come back and it's done. This is the other end of that where you just when you uninstall things, you just set it and it goes. You come back and it's done. Is that it? Really? I mean, is that what this does?
Yeah,
It's like the anti-Night Night.
it is the anti-night. Now
I'm just trying to wrap. I mean, I don't want to associate the two products. I'm just trying to wrap my mind around this. This is what it does, right? Instead of, click like if I'm using the horrible ad remove programs from any version of Windows, including my favorite, most recent, that you uninstall and you have to click this and you click that. It's a process, and then you can uninstall the next one, and you have to click things. And it asks you, are you sure you want to do this? And it's a horrible thing if you have to uninstall 3, 4, 5 things. This is what that does, except you just click until it start, and then it just goes, right? It's done. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh,
now I just had my hand smacked, virtually. Okay, so whitelisting is not branding. That's not the same. So I apologize for that. So Nick says, because I'm actually where he says, so branding would be or whitelisting would be, and he says, for example, you can blacklist toolbar, but whitelist Bing, and it would install everything. It would uninstall every toolbar except for Bing.
Awesome.
So that's what the whitelisting is keep this certain program, uninstall everything else. So it's kind of cool because then you can say uninstall every toolbar, except for So if you have multiple toolbars, like we've all seen that famous screenshot of all of the toolbars. But you want to keep conduit, so you can uninstall everything but toolbar.
Conduit.
No.
Oh gosh, the root of all evil. Wow, this is fantastic. I love it. And you've used this.
I have used it. And like I said, it's a small application. It fits right on a thumb drive, and it works really, really well. Another new news from Nick is that Crypto Prevent. Crypto Prevent version 4.4.1 was released as well, and so this one it has a new option to block the execution of syskey.exe as recently being exploited by malware. So he sounds like he's updated it to kind of keep up to date with all of the malware and everything else that the bad guys are doing. So a new version of Crypto Prevent. So if you guys are using Crypto Prevent, I've had it installed on multiple machines. Definitely go update your Crypto Prevent toolkit. Keep that up to date as well. And of course, Nick has D7 and D7.2 now, and he's been on the show a couple times. We've talked with him both. He's been on with Geeksters, and then he's also done some other stuff. But he's a big sponsor of Podnuts, and so definitely support him and his products because he's just an all-around cool guy.
Agreed.
And so we definitely wanted to we want to make sure that give a shout out to Nick for all of his hard work and everything he does, because he just loves the stuff he does, and it shows in his product. So some sad news that came out. Gosh, and if you probably haven't heard about this, you want to make sure you do this. Is that if you have an eBay account, eBay was hacked, and you want to make sure you change your password. So eBay says this. This is what from the Hacker News came out with this, and it says eBay revealed that hackers compromised customers' databases, including emails, physical address, encrypted passwords, and dates of birth, in a hacking attempt between late February and early March. But financial information like credit card numbers as well as PayPal information were stored separately and were not compromised. So at least they kept the data separate, but really, what do you need when you go to try to buy something, or authenticate who you are? Your name, your address, your date of birth. So I have a feeling we're going to see some. Fraudulent, stuff come through this, because it's just, they got a whole bunch of your identity on this. eBay waited 2 weeks to tell anybody about this as well, and the reason they waited 2 weeks is because eBay was running a forensic. Right. They were running an investigation.
Because it wasn't a buy it now.
Right. That's right. They waited 2 weeks because it was bidding. What is it? The minimum hadn't been met yet?
Hack it now.
That's right. Hack it now. Well, what they were trying to do, what they said, is they weren't sure if it was internal or external that caused this, so they were doing a forensic. They said they were doing a forensic investigation on its computers to find out the extent of the theft, to find out whether or not to find out what was going on. So they were kind of just running a test internally to see what was going on. We've all, the Target, now eBay, there's been so many of these that have happened where they wait and they wait and they wait, and so long. I mean, granted, it's just 2 weeks, but that's 2 weeks.
Oh my gosh, it's forever.
They wait so long because they're trying to do some investigation, and then you have companies who are like, "Hey, by the way, the other day we got hacked. I want to let you know we got hacked. We're going to reset everybody's password." Now, eBay's forcing everybody to do their password change, but just come out. It's like when you're a kid, or it's like when you're an adult. If you do something wrong, isn't it easier just to, and it's harder, it's tough. You got to eat a piece of humble pie, but to go to the person and say, "I've done this wrong," and be done with it. As opposed to waiting and maybe lying and trying to covering it up.
That's it. I mean, human nature is the cover up. Like, I can still get away with this. I can still get away with it. I mean, that's just human nature. And so there's some part of that in play. You know what? I mean, they need, like, when something like this happens, I'm thinking there has to be some window where they can figure out what happened when they go public, how they can say this is what happened, and they've already got something in place so it's not continuing to happen or get worse because they're announcing this happened. But after something goes 2 weeks, it's all about damage control and trying to make it go away.
Do you know how many TVs you can buy with my credit card in 2 weeks?
All of them.
That's right. I wonder if they would use your credit. They probably just went to Amazon. They probably went to podnuts.com/Amazon and bought a whole bunch of stuff. Now when I go to Amazon, it brings up links for things that I don't want, suggestions. I'm like, what?
Search conduit. Well, I mean,
you want to buy search conduit?
Yeah. I mean, you said your name, your birthday. This didn't. I mean, I guess the value is the quantity of what maybe they might have, the quantity of what they may have gotten, but that's not. I mean, as far as like me individually, that's not like hugely private information.
Well, sure.
Name, address, birth date. I guess it is a big deal, though. I mean, if they got that from hundreds of thousands of people.
Right. No, let's just say they didn't keep. At least the databases were separate. I mean, we've all seen.
Yeah. Well, yeah. What was the nature of the hacking? Was there, did they give you an indication what the exploit was, or how they got this, or?
Employee login credentials.
Okay. Zero
Right.
zero 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 zero.
Right. It says quote unquote cyber attacks compromised a small number of employee login credentials, allowing unauthorized access to eBay's corporate network. So yeah,
Somebody left a laptop somewhere on the bus or the subway. That's what it says.
or they used the password, or they used and this and if this is the case, then this really falls back to your network and system administrators. How come they're not in? I would probably put money on it that eBay's running a domain, a Windows domain of some sort. Why aren't there policies in place to have the users change passwords every so often? Why isn't there policies in place then to have um, you can set your password policies. Set them higher. Make don't allow things like password. Don't allow add a special character. Add something. If nothing else, then have a training. Maybe they're not. Maybe they don't have a domain policy. Then have training. These are things that we just have to get out as me being a systems administrator for schools, as for other companies with a domain, without a domain, as you guys having clients as well. We need to be really reminding our customers that the password is not a great password. They need to come up with. I tell my clients, come up with a password. Well, what should I use? You choose it. I'm like, I'll choose you a hard one if you want. Maybe make it a phrase. It doesn't need to be crazy. With
Well, yeah, and that's it. A hard one doesn't equal complicated.
Exactly.
That's the problem, and very often, in the search for a hard one, people are issued something that's complicated, and that it doesn't have to be the case. It could be a phrase, something that's very natural to say, but if you were to read it, it's not something that be would just instantly show up in a rainbow table somewhere, especially. Well, I don't know. I'm gonna get too far off of this, but yeah, hard to crack does not have to mean complicated for the user to use day to day, and that is the biggest failing I think in security is in not working with people, because people. I've seen some amazing policies in place. A guy a couple of months ago, he sent me something, the brand new policy that had been put in place to, passwords had to be changed every so many days. They had to, and it was literally like I actually felt like I had to get a lawyer to read it, to really explain. It was so complicated. All the requirements, and some of the requirements seemed to contradict other requirements.
Right.
It was just like, it's like I just give up. Can you just scan my eye or something? just scan my eyeball.
Yeah. But you're right, Tim. Complicated does not mean, well, yeah, whatever you said.
Right. It doesn't have to be difficult for the user to actually be difficult to crack.
Right. Or, yeah.
Because they're humans.
Yeah. So if you haven't
computers.
changed your eBay password, change it. And what the whole big point of this is that what this is going to allow now is, because they know you're an eBay customer, they have your email address, is now you're going to be getting phishing attacks, and that's really what a lot of this is going to come down to, is that just be aware that if you start getting emails from eBay saying, this happened, please click here, give us your information.
Don't do that. Please don't do that.
Go to the site and change your password that way. Don't click on a link that eBay has sent you to change your password.
I don't remember my password.
Right. Well, but if you don't remember your password, then go to the site and click on I don't remember my password.
Yeah,
don't do that. So if you have friends, if you have families, if you have your neighbor that uses eBay that you know about, remind them to do this well, because they are more than likely going to get an email that says, oh, if you haven't heard in the news, click here. Then they give them their information, including probably a credit card, because they're going to want that for validation, or pseudo validation. And now all of a sudden, I don't know who bought a TV in New York. It wasn't me. I haven't been to New York in years.
And if you're really paranoid, change your password, your name, and your birth date.
There you go.
That'll take care of it.
Or change your password to 0000000. Work for the government.
It did for all those years.
All those years. Um, one more thing that I came across, and this was actually just recently, and it's actually from the Forbes network, and it says most antivirus software is lousy at detecting advanced malware. And I thought, this looks interesting, and it starts out by pretty much saying, let me throw this link in here real quick. And all of these links, of course, are in the show notes. It starts out saying the duck test has been a long-used example for deductive reasoning that essentially boils down to this: if it waddles, quacks, and swims like a duck, it's a duck. It says some might say that some might have said that of malicious code or malware that criminals create, distribute, and unleash to exploit vulnerabilities. So it says basically, if it looks like it, if it sounds like it, if it works like it, then it must be. And this is it's not a very long article, but it goes down here and it talks a lot about how they actually did a test. Or Last Line Labs did a test for 365 days. So it's not just these little tests that sometimes we come across of this is the latest malware because in this last month they've caught this or antivirus. They did a full from May 2013 to May 2014. Must still be must have just ended against 47 vendors, and this is what they have found. On day 0, only 51% of AV scanners detected new malware samples. It took an average of 2 days for at least one AV scanner to detect malware that went undetected on the first day. Detection rates bumped up to 61% after 2 weeks, indicating a common lag for AV signatures. In 1 year, no single AV scanner caught every new malware samples in even one of the test days. After a year, 10% of the scanners did not detect some malware, and the 1 percentile of malware that is least likely to be detected was the 1 percentile of malware least likely to be detected was undetected by the majority of AV scanners for months, and in some cases were never detected. And it goes on to say the 1% of malware, those whistling, skipping mallards that continue to elude the duck test of signature-based detection. This advanced malware can be polymorphic and environmentally aware, lying dormant or changing to adapt it if it senses it's being watched or quarantined. So really that 1% you're going to have a hard time with anyways. There's really not that. But what got me was that on day 0, only 5% of the AV scanners detected new malware samples, and that after 2 weeks, 61% it says detection rates bumped up to 61% after 2 weeks, indicating common lag for AV signatures. So we end up getting into this competition of, well, Symantec's better than AVG, and AVG is better than Avast, and Avast, well, now Avast is at the top, and then Malwarebytes, the free version of Microsoft Security Essentials isn't as good. We end up running through all this, but this report is pretty much saying that in a whole year, they tested 47 vendors, and really, they're all the same. Not one of them is any better than the other. While in a short term, on a small scale, sure, they may be. But in the long run,
we're doomed.
There's not a whole lot we can do. After it says detection rates bumped up to 61% after 2 weeks. So really, of all the AV signatures, only 61% of them knew about the virus after 2 weeks. So I just thought this was an interesting article because we've talked about this before regarding, antivirus. Is antivirus declining and malware like ransomware and just junkware, is that on the incline? Do we need as much antivirus software as much as we need more junkware software and malware software and ransomware software? Where are we at a tipping point, or have we been at a tipping point where things like CryptoPrevent is way more popular than something like Symantec antivirus?
All the more than you should use a sandboxy or when you're running your browser, some type of sandboxy. I don't know. What's the answer? It's scary.
I don't know. I just thought I'd throw it out there and
run Linux.
There's a lot there's a lot of data there to digest, and I'll admit that I didn't get much of it. I mean, I was trying to really process all that. I agree with you that I think the takeaway from that is really what most of us probably know in our gut, is that I don't think anyone would necessarily agree that all of the products are the same. I think we do have our favorites for this reason or that, but ultimately, I think we all know that whatever you're using, uh, somebody's gonna get stung somewhere eventually because nothing gets everything all the time, and it's a tennis match. I mean, the ball is volleyed back and forth. At some point, the good guys do have the leg up, and sometimes the bad guys have the leg up. Um, it, Somebody makes a move, and then the other side responds, and so um, that's. That's what I got from this article. That hey, here's some numbers that actually kind of show that. So
Yeah, this paragraph here sums it up really well. It says semantics sparked some discussion recently when it said that AV's dead. Kaspersky Labs retorted AV is alive and kicking. But alive or dead, our research data shows that no single AV vendor can detect most malware most of the time.
semantics said AV is dead.
Yeah, it was a couple weeks ago. Semantic Antivirus came out and said that.
Wow.
It says, and what one vendor
They
detects.
announced there's no reason for their product.
Right. Hey,
You know what? I'm thinking that marketing guy isn't there anymore.
right.
It's Coca-Cola. It kills you. Don't buy it.
Right. Right.
Buy Coca-Cola.
By Coca-Cola. It says, and what one vendor detects, another may not. It says most AV technology is inconsistent and slow, often taking days, weeks, or even months to detect malware and issue a signature against it, at which point it has archived its objective, or it has achieved its objective, and the sender has moved on. It's as if people were fingerprinted before being granted access to the Federal Reserve Vault or military weapons arsenal, but the database of criminal fingerprints lagged by months or years, and the criminals' fingerprints changed daily. So, like I said, it's not a very long article, and they actually report back to their test. There's a link in this article that goes back to the test of all of these listing labs, and they've got some graphics and some charts and stuff like that. And it's it struck me because I know we had talked about this a couple times, and and it's hard to keep up. How do you keep up with this stuff? I got a call yesterday from a friend saying, well, what antivirus do you use? What's the best one do you use? And really there's, which one have we not been burned on? That's the one we have a tendency to be used. I've used Microsoft Security Essentials for quite a while. I've used the free version of AVG. I know the one time I get burned on those, I won't be using those anymore. But it's not a matter of when or if, it's a matter of when.
But Martin and Tim, what about your clients? They probably had one of those products on before and still got infected.
Right. I've got a client right now that's using McAfee, excuse me, has been using McAfee for years, and nobody has had any issues with it. It's worked great for them. I've worked with in a company one time where they got burned by Symantec, and they said, nope, we're not using that anymore, and we went on to something else.
I mean, I've had them where they've had those two or Security Essentials, and they were still infected.
Oh yeah, no, there's no way around it, and that's where we come in, and we have to, that's where there's not just, you don't just take the training wheels off your kids' bikes and just let them go. There's training involved. There's education. There's don't run out in the street. So, we don't just throw antivirus on a computer and say go. We say we throw antivirus on the computer, and then we say, okay, now stop searching for conduit. Stop installing, this other stuff that comes with this, because we need to educate just as much as that, because it's just proven that we can't. There is not a one fix of throwing antivirus, throwing malwarebytes, throwing all this other kind of stuff on there, and then saying, great, you're completely, fully, and 100% totally protected.
It's all about education.
It is all about education.
And ultimately, no matter what you do, eventually the other guy's going to run the red light and hit you.
Exactly.
How many times people ask, well, how did this happen? How did I get this? And the stock answer for years has been, I don't charge enough to do the CSI. I charge for the removal. I really don't do much to try and find what it is or where it came from. If you'd like for me to pursue that, I can, but ultimately it's just bad luck. And if you don't have faith in this product, we can look at something else. However, I don't believe that you necessarily did anything to cause this, it's just bad luck. And people are usually satisfied with that, but ultimately that's just what it boils down to.
Right.
61% in 2 weeks. I mean, eventually it's just going to happen. So
Yeah. Yeah. So we do have an email that really ties right into this thing. But before we get into that, Tim, I wanted to see if there was anything any products and stuff you had worked on that you wanted to bring up.
yeah, you know what? Real quickly, there were a couple things that I did want to mention. I had a bunch of things potentially I could talk about, but the main thing was about Windows XP and Microsoft Security Essentials. the The situation there is that if you already have Security Essentials installed on your Windows XP machine, you will get a warning that appears to suggest that it's not working. Graphically, it impresses this upon you that there's a big red stripe across
Right.
the
Hmm.
window, and it's very shocking. It's, oh my gosh! But if you look at it, it's not necessarily saying it. It's just saying that, look, when support is ended for this product, you need to stop using Windows XP. But Microsoft Security Essentials will continue to get uh, uh, updates to it itself, new virus definitions and this sort of thing. However, if you have a Windows XP machine, I ran this. I didn't realize this, but I had it came in broken, and I uninstalled a number of things, including Microsoft Security Essentials. Then when I went to reinstall it, I couldn't, and so you cannot actually in, in, install Microsoft Security. If you already have it, you will get fresh definitions. If you want it, you cannot have it. So I'm actually curious. I imaged this machine. I'm wondering if I restore that image, if it would start working again. I'm assuming it would,
Hmm.
but having it uninstalled, I cannot reinstall it. So I'll probably just put a Vast on it.
Yeah. I came across that too, but every time I saw it, maybe I read it wrong, but every time I saw it, it said, this is not going to work anymore. And you go to update it, and it says, nope, I'm not going to. It won't update on a Microsoft Security Essentials on a Windows XP machine. That then started giving me that warning.
Okay, I know that on the one that I worked on, I have to log into it and check it again, but wow, unless I really misread this, it appeared to be getting new definitions. So
Oh, yeah,
Mm,
mine did not. So
Mine either. The one I worked on didn't either.
I uninstalled it and
hmm,
just threw, like I said, free Advast on there as well.
I'll have to restore that image and see what happens. And that was the other thing, was that um, I had it's a Windows XP machine. It's like Windows XP Home. I can't believe how much I worked on this, and then going back to it, I'm like, wow, I haven't worked on XP in a long time. And I'm like, oh, this thing is like clunky and awful, um, which makes me feel sad because I loved XP for so long. But anyway, this what it would do, it would boot up, and you get the welcome screen, and when you would click. Uh, there were 3 user accounts, and when you would click the user account you want to log into, it would appear to do something, but then nothing would happen. So the mouse would move, but you couldn't click anything to actually do anything. You click, even if you wanted to click shutdown, you couldn't even shut it down and reboot it. So it would get stuck at that point. Now, uh, it wasn't, it didn't feel, or it was, it clearly wasn't frozen because the mouse would continue to move. It didn't even feel like locked up. It just felt like it was trying to, it couldn't overcome some hurdle that it needed to do to actually get to the desktop. It would boot successfully in safe mode, but just not normally. So, long story short, very easy fix. Uh, I believe it tried to install an update or something, and it did not shut down successfully. Booting into safe mode, msconfig, I disabled everything except the most basic of the services. All startup items I disabled, and I I did. Let me brought this up. I no, not that one. I did check, put check mark in the box for, I think it's like no GUI boot or something like that. And so, uh,
Right.
Hmm.
as it's booting up, it actually will scroll all the drivers it's loading just like it's going to safe mode, but it's not. And then if it were to get stuck, you can maybe kind of figure out if it's a driver or something that's getting stuck on. However, having disabled unnecessary services and startup items, it did boot successfully the desktop. I'm like, oh, that's great, because I don't feel like learning how to fix something that's basically I'll never need to know. I'll probably never need to go again.
Did you say it was XP, Tim?
Yeah, it's XP Home. And so I don't know what it was. It doesn't matter. I booted into and I uninstalled a number of things that I think may have tried to update. I think it was an Adobe product, but I don't know. Not sure.
Yeah, that did remind me of going back to the computer with Vista that we kept just rebooting. Is that I did try safe mode, because there's probably somebody listening going, "Why didn't you try safe mode?" I did try safe mode, and it would start scrolling through all the commands, and then get to a certain spot, and then reboot. I tried it safe mode with command prompt, so I could just manually change that file, scroll through everything, and then reboot. So it wouldn't even let me boot into safe mode. At all. So I did try that and ended up having to do something like a Linux disk.
And you say you renamed the file, right? Okay.
Right. I renamed the pending.xml file.
Okay.
And did you try Sys Restore by any chance?
I could get to that. It wouldn't. There was no system. There was
That's
nothing.
exactly right. That's exactly what it does.
Copy. Yeah.
Right, and I tried going back to the last known good configuration. Nope.
Oh yeah.
Nothing. It was just nothing. So sad trombone sound when I did it manually, or I did, when I had tried all that stuff.
Easy fix. So anyway, yeah, I tried what yours was. I tried Sys Restore, and it was kind of the same thing where it made a difference, and I said, okay, all right. So, but once again, this is something that probably would have been automatic in my mind several years ago, but now I'm like, nah, I don't remember what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
I'm like, can you just do your automatic startup fix like 7 does so successfully?
I know. Yeah,
The difference is now I can wait 20 more minutes to know that I still have to figure out how to fix this.
Did you guys ever have to repair the bootloader?
Oh yeah.
The command line stuff.
Yeah.
But then you need the proper Windows disk to do that with too. So.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Anyway. Okay. But those were a couple tasty little things that I did run into, and I want to throw those out. A couple are tasty things, but I'll save them.
Don't give all the tasty away.
No. I gotta spread the tasty over time.
Well, real quick, like I was telling Tim, I was telling Martin before you came in, and before we went live, that my Core 2 Quad MSI laptop upstairs, it takes an awful time to boot up. We'll get to the desktop, but it just takes a long time for things to load up right, like my wireless card. And so I saw a tutorial to restore my Explorer.exe, and I had to get it from my Windows 7 boot CD, and I had to extract it from, because the CD here, the 64-bit, it's home. It's Ultimate I have upstairs, but this it has all the different versions of Basic, Ultimate, whatever. But you have to use like WinZip to get to it, and anyway, it worked. It did help. It did help up my speed up time. I mean, the desktop loads much quicker now. So
cool.
Some way or another, it was just, I don't know, corrupted or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. Well, this email comes from John Barbagello. I'm sorry, John, if I messed up. He had written this to us a couple weeks ago regarding antivirus, free versus paid, and Windows 8. Like he wrote a long email, and we talked about it. And it sounded like he was more opting for paid antivirus versus free antivirus, and we kind of said, or at least I remember me saying that that's not necessarily the case, that I've been very successful with free antivirus over paid. They both work the same. And so he wrote back in response to that. And he says, "You guys rock with the best podcast in real world helpful info. I just want to let you know my previous email was more of a rant based on the podcast that Martin wasn't on late in March or early April. So it's all on you guys." That particular podcast seemed less informative and more opinionated than normal.
Oh,
Although,
no, I no. Everything that I've ever said is a total fact. It's inarguable. It's literally set in stone somewhere. Whatever I say, I know that everybody agrees. They just need to rehear it.
it says he
No,
says,
look, I mean, if you're listening to me talk, it's opinion. I mean, half of it it's
well,
just made
yes,
up
it
on the
is.
spot. Half of it is a made up on the spot Tim fact.
Well,
I,
and we all do things completely different than each other. So it's yeah. He does say that the banter between everyone is entertaining, though. He says, but he goes on to say, although he says I wasn't very clear when I spoke of the paid-for products. I was talking about Avast Internet Security versus Avast Free and Malware Pro versus Malwarebytes Pro versus Malwarebytes Free. Since both of these paid products seem to do a much better job in real-time protection versus cleaning up of the mess afterwards. In my opinion, the paid-for products are worth it if you can get them for the right price. Shop around. And then he talks about prices for that. And then he goes on to talk about, and I won't read the rest of his email because he does a really good job talking about Avast and how to set it up, and it'll be in the show notes. But he goes through step by step on how to install Avast and what kind of settings you should use to make it kind of optimized. So that's cool. And I do want to go back. I do want to say that things like the Malwarebytes free versus the Malwarebytes paid for version. So the Malwarebytes paid version is about $24.95 for a year now. They went to a yearly subscription. So the free version will work on your system. It just sits there. It doesn't do anything, and you can manually run the scan when you want to. The paid for version does some website monitoring. You can schedule out some scans, and it has kind of a real-time aspect where it'll watch and see what you're doing. So yes, in that aspect, the paid for version is going to be better than the free version. But you also have to take into consideration sometimes that I've noticed that and I have both. I have the paid for version. Is that sometimes the it's MAMBAM.exe.
Mm-hmm.
Your computer's running slow all of a sudden. You have no idea what's going on. You look at that
Yep.
thing, and that service has tapped out your system, and I don't know why. And I found that sometimes you just let it sit and it works. Sometimes you have to uninstall Malwarebytes and reinstall it. I don't know. But yes, in a general, is the paid for version better than the free version? Yes, in my opinion, it is. I don't have the experience with Avast other than the fact that I've used it in a corporate setting. So I guess most paid-for versions you are going to run into more options to do that with. So am I going to have all my customers who just need a antivirus product pay for an antivirus product? I don't know. Depends on their budget, depends on what they're running, depends on, there's a lot of factors that go into that. In a corporate environment, yes, I'm not running free antivirus in a corporate environment. Now, corporate being a good size environment, Microsoft Security Essentials does allow businesses with less than 10 computers to run their product for free. I'm asking those people to contact me when they have an issue. Now I also have clients who have 50 computers, 150 computers. I'm not giving them free antivirus. They should not be using free antivirus because when an issue happens, I need to be notified of when they're having issues. Most of our clients, when our single user clients, the free antivirus probably works fine for them. If they want to use the paid one, that's great. I don't know what a single license for Avast costs though, so I can't. It looks like in this email he said that a 10-user 3-year Avast is $180, but that's 10 users. What's one cost? I don't know. And I'm not John, and I'm not saying anything bad. I'm just throwing it out there. So
I can verify about Malwarebytes, the full version, which I have, and if you can get a copy of the full version, the old version, you're entitled to the updates after that. I'm sure some places still might have it.
Okay.
The version before 2.0, which will upgrade to that, and it's only the one time, it's a lifetime thing. But now, if you would buy it now, you're going to have to do the yearly thing. But I tell you what, and that's another reason why my laptop is slow on getting to the desktop because of Malwarebytes, because it's doing stuff in the beginning. But I can go browsing, and it will block sites. I mean, it'll block stuff it's trying to get in there. I mean, or or trying to pop up stuff. It's unbelievable what it does. It really does a good job. I mean, it continually will block. Something will pop up saying block this site, block that site, or I could dismiss it. And it's amazing. It's a really,
Yeah.
I think it's a must-have. I mean, I would suggest that to any person. I mean, any of your customers buy it. It's worth $50 a year, really.
It is. And he, I'm going through this email and looking at a lot of stuff, and he does point out a lot of features that Avast Pro has that the free one doesn't. Sandboxing, safe zones, rootkit scannings. So really, Avast, I'm finding that the more I use it, the better. I'm liking it. Everybody has their own, and I don't want to, and I'm not interested in getting into, my antivirus product is better than your antivirus product.
Well, I can tell you what the fact of the matter is if you'd like. I mean,
sure.
Because no, it's actually an opinion. But no, I was just gonna say that, I like the Avast, and I just said it that Security Essentials, if it's not an option, well, I mean, I go right to the Avast because I think it's a very, very good product. I always have. I like Security Essentials because it's just easy. You press basically you press a button, go, and then that's it. I think the Avast. I think it's it's almost like if you don't want options, then you don't. I think you'd be overwhelmed by that. And so I like buttons, I like switches, I like options, and so I really like the product, but I think it could be a little overwhelming for somebody if they got in there and started digging around. And I'm talking about my users, that grandma who just wants to play her solitaire and check her email. So I took issue with a couple of things that he said in that first email. However, I very quickly dismissed them only because I really thought that was a fantastic email he sent. I really appreciate the time that he sent and he spent on that, because he had I remember you reading that, had there were like 10 or 15 different things that he brought.
Yeah,
right?
he had a real good on what settings he uses for Avast.
Mm-hmm.
So and listening back when you read it on the last episode. So I've never I just call it as I see it. This is how what I feel is true based on what I've seen. However, I come here, I'm willing to listen to what anybody has seen, because every opinion I have, it was probably good 10 minutes ago, but technology moves so fast. We have to keep saying, well, I'm seeing this. Okay, well, you're seeing that, and so maybe I've changed it up. You have to constantly just kind of stay on top of this. I'm always kind of amazed at how true some things have been over the long haul, because this technology, man, if you don't stay on top of it, forget it. You get out of what we're doing, you get out of this for a year, don't even come back, because it's everything is completely different.
Yeah.
And so I've never set myself up there as this is how you do it. This is no, I understand. This is how I've always done it. Man, you got a better way? I want to know it, because this is what I'm doing based upon my past history. But man, I'm always looking for the bigger, better, faster way to do something, or stop doing something that doesn't work anymore.
And he does do. I mean, and I wrote him back and said, we may have issues where we disagree on, and that's great. That's that's what makes the world go round. But he has written phenomenal emails. He comes in this email, like I said, check us out in the show notes. He goes through Avast and he says this is what he does after he installs it, and he goes by every single tab and he says this is what you check on this tab, this is what you do in this tab, and he goes through step by step by step. And I mean, what I read was probably a quarter of the whole email. Everything else is just settings. So, John, just my hat's off to you for writing this email into us and allowing us to share this with our listeners, because somebody, including myself, is going to get is going to benefit from this. And I'm probably going to go ahead and install Avast on the free Avast on another machine and go through these settings and test them out and look at them, so I know how to set them up both on a local level and an enterprise level, because these settings will follow right on over, and I need as much help as I can get sometimes. So thank you, John, for sending in that email. It's greatly appreciated. Well, guys, do you got anything else to go?
Good show.
Yeah. I'm gonna go.
It's okay.
It was awesome. I'm glad
Generally,
that,
I'm generally not a fan.
It was
well,
better because you were here.
you can't win them all,
I'm no, It's,
including the hosts.
as always, it's an honor to be here, and I thank you for working the schedule around for me, and having an opportunity to stop in and just shoot the breeze a little bit. This holiday weekend is Monday morning, and it's the first time I've looked forward to getting up early and doing something. And like I want to sleep in. And this poor guy on the West Coast, I just think you're nuts. I would have been like, I'm sleeping in. So I really do appreciate it, and as always, it's just an honor to be with you guys. And happy belated birthday, Dor. I missed it. So
Yeah. If anybody has missed it, please send Dora many emails and wish him happy birthday. Well, guys, I've had a great time. I got the day in front of me now. Who knows what I'm gonna do? The day is still young for me.
It's still young for me too.
That's still young for everybody. It's a different doing it in the morning, but we'll have it. Nonetheless, a great show. So, Tim, if we want to get a hold of you, what's the best way they can?
Hey, I'm Tim Bauermeister on G+. I'm in like Tim in the Podnuts forums. You can email me. I am tim@realpcrepair.com.
Nice. And if people want to send us an email or voicemail like John did, Mitch, what's the best way to do that?
Geeksters@podnuts.com. You can reference any of us. And you can send us a voicemail, which we have not had in a long while. 7076-PodNut. That's 7076-PodNut. And let me know, guys, if anybody uses some of those prepaid phone services out there. Let me know how if you're satisfied with the services.
Yeah, keep the emails coming. It's great to hear from you. It's great to hear from. I mean, even if you disagree with us, if you agree with us, great.
If you want to troll me, please just send something. If it's happened before, I love it. Just if you want to troll me,
we enjoy bringing everything to the show. So, thanks, guys. Martin Obando, you can reach me at martin@obandocomputing.com. You can masskill in the forums, masskill in the chat. Don't forget that we do have a chat. If you guys want to join us, generally we try to shoot for Tuesdays, 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern. You can go to podnuts.com/live. You can watch our beautiful shining faces. You can join in the chat. We do have a chance to talk back and forth sometimes, and sometimes we'll be talking about a subject, and somebody will talk about it in the chat, and we bring that to the show. And I mean, we do that quite often. And of course, thanks for all the listeners who come out and listen to us on a daily basis, and everybody who watches us live and supports Podnuts through podnuts.com/Amazon. So, guys, have a great holiday weekend, the rest of it, and a great fiscal week. We'll see you next time. Bye, guys. And stop.
This is 118, right?
This is 118.
Export.
Yeah, it's only 7:44 here, so maybe I'll get. I mean, we had my daughter had some friends sleep over last night, so.
Oh boy.
They'll probably be getting up soon. They're having smoothies for breakfast, so it's not even like I can go back to bed. But we'll see what happens.
Can't type.
You can do it.
Chupacabra.
He's gone. He gave up.
He's coming back. He's being a chupacabra-ish. But I don't know.
All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and stop the live broadcast. Thanks for everybody coming out and watching us.
Thank you.